The French Revolution spanned from 1789 to 1815. It was a period of radical reform where nationalism coursed through the country. The French Revolution was not an immediate event. It occurred over a period of time. However, the main events that set the revolution in motion occurred at the very beginning. These causes of this revolution were financial instability and unrest in the three classes. Before the French Revolution had officially begun, France was closely following a government system that had been used in the Middle Ages. This system, called feudalism, had created three very distinct classes: the landowning nobles, the people of the church or the clergy, and the rest of the population, which was known as the Third Estate. The landowning nobles had certain rights in France. They monopolized high-ranking positions in the government, church, army, and court, and often still didn't work very hard.
Yet these nobles also had growing resentment. Many of them were feeling trapped because, although they had land, this did not guarantee a stable income for them or their families. This resulted in a lack of cash or money, which unsettled the previous government system where land meant money. Noble unrest was also growing because they feared the king. Nobles felt that the king would soon attack the privileges that they did have. The biggest one of these fears was that the nobles believed that soon they would have to pay taxes to support the state. Because of this, many nobles sought to gain favor with the king. They piled into the palace at Versailles to seek royal appointments while still appearing to be enjoying life lavishly. The unrest in the clergy was also an important contributing factor to the French Revolution. During the Middle Ages, the church had been a powerful political force. So the nobles caused the revolution by failing to pay taxes and monopolizing high-ranking positions, while growing resentful toward the other estates. These effects led to their own downfall and loss of power. They still had certain privileges at the beginning of the revolution. For example, the church did not have to pay taxes. In their cahiers they said, quote, that no tax may be laid without the consent of the nation. This lack of equal taxation between the classes began to create a great national debt. Yet the clergy were not all rich. The split between the rich and the poor clergymen was creating resentment towards the overall government. Many turned to Louis XVI for improvements in their economic systems. Yet Louis was failing the clergy. Meanwhile, the clergy were also combating against the Enlightenment ideals of reason, observation, and science. Some of these philosophers were questioning the necessity of the church. They claimed that the church was interfering with the government and politics, where it had no place. The clergy angrily responded that Enlightenment thinkers undervalued the importance of religion in society, yet the thinkers still mocked them. So because of attacks by Enlightenment thinkers, the failures of Louis XVI, and the increasingly large gap in pay-wage between them, the clergy yearned for reforms in the government. The Third Estate was comprised of all of the other people. This included the bourgeoisie, rural peasants, day laborers, and others. They made up the bulk of the population, and most of the future reforms heavily favored them. They were the main source of the economy, yet enjoyed the least benefits. France relied entirely on the Third Estate to pay taxes and finance the country. Survival as a member of the Third Estate became so hard that many fell into poverty and relied on crime and begging to continue to live. The third class resented the privileges that the other two estates received. This resentment revolved mostly around the fact that the nobles automatically received the top jobs. Peasants were especially burdened because they often still had to pay off debt that they owed their lords during the feudalist era. So the entire Third Estate faced similar problems. They all had to shoulder the debt through their taxes, lost out on high-ranking positions, and often fell to poverty. As the revolution dragged on, with famous events like the Great Fear, or the calling of the Estates General, or even Napoleon's conquering, when we look back at the cause, we see the initial financial instability, and the unrest within the three estates. And thus, my documentary ends. On the following pages you will see a scrolling list of works cited sources for the images. Please note that the main sources of info were World History Textbook by Ellis and Esler, and also http://chnm.gmu.edu/revolution.